Welcome to a discussion this morning on new developments in power plant air pollution control. And it's going to be an interactive discussion this morning. We may have to put you on mute if there's too much noise. We do have 60 or 70 people, but right now everybody seems to have their phones on mute, which we would like to have you do when you're not talking, and maybe we can get by without having to mute everybody. But we are going to have 4 people making very brief presentations in addition to the discussion, and Richard Leyden and several of his people from Clear Edge, John Lemcooler from Kentura, Chris Pedersen of Chemray, Naris Shusuja of Lindy, and Jerry Radway of Enerchem. So these will be people that will be talking in addition to some of the comments and discussion that we will have. So this is our schedule here. But then the next thing I did want to show you was the participants today. We do have quite a good group of participants this morning, and you can see that they represent utilities and A&Es and equipment suppliers and system suppliers and components and some of the materials, et cetera. So it's a good group of people, and I hope that everybody will make comments, and we will go back and forth so that there will be time for comments in between the times that you're all muted out there, for which I apologize. But I think just talking on the overall subject here, and just go back to the new developments again, I want to just say a few words about what the importance of all this is. As everybody is well aware, there's a big movement to do away with coal, and at the very least, the life of coal-fired power in the world can be greatly extended with new technologies that reduce pollutants. And we, for instance, have come up with a common metric to measure the harm of CO2 versus NOx versus these other things. And one way to look at it is, for instance, in the United States, there is harm being caused, the equivalent of which is 5 billion tons of CO2 a year. In other words, if NOx is worth 100 tons of CO2 and SO2 is worth 100 tons and particulate's worth 1,000 and mercury is worth 1 million and et cetera, then coal-fired power plants are putting out about the equivalent of 5 billion tons of CO2. And what we need to do is to get a common meeting ground with the environmentalists, with government, all the participants, and agree to some sort of a timetable over the total reduction of the pollutants from this 5 billion tons today to whatever it is going to be in 2020 and then 2030 and then 2050. But the logical way to look at it is in terms of the total harm reduction rather than just focusing on CO2 or mercury or whatever. And let's see, I think we've got some, what happens here is we get a few people that call in later and then get a little noise there. But that being said, some of these new technologies have the promise of a much lower cost per ton of pollutant removed to improve the reduction relative to the cost. And so I think it's very important that we do keep encouraging the newer technologies that are going to provide this. And then one other point that I'd like to make as well is that the industry is going to be pushed to much, much higher levels of removal under certain circumstances. For example, under the new ambient air quality regulations, it's very possible that the states will be pushing NOx removal and particulate removal to much higher levels than are required by the federal government. So I guess we got somebody else that's popped in here, so I'm going to have to get everybody again on mute again, participants, and mute all. Okay, sorry guys. And so this being said, we've got several different reasons that we are going to be looking at new technologies. One is a way to extend the life of coal, and the other one is to meet regulations that are probably beyond what any of the technologies have achieved so far. So one of the exciting opportunities, and we've been talking about it for some time, is some way to remove the particulate in the hot gas prior to the SCR, or even to replace the SCR. And fortunately, we have the people from ClearEdge who are going to be joining us today and are going to be able to address that issue. I see we also have a representative from Mott in the among the participants. So we have some of the experts there. So let's see, I wanted to here is Richard there. And so we're going to have to figure out which, so I'm going to unmute everybody for a minute, and we'll get Richard to say something so we can track down which mic he is, what phone he is in. So I've unmuted everybody. And then, Richard, if you would let me know, say something, and we'll figure out which phone's vibrating here.
1910-0. Yeah, it shows it like your foot in the middle.
It's Richard. Let's see. It's see what your caller user number is there. Can you give us a little of your background for a second, and we'll track down which phone you're on. Yeah, Richard.
I would imagine they pulled it tight, and as the thing ran, and you get a little bit of cold build up on the spot.
No, I guess we're not getting Richard or anybody else from ClearEdge responding at this point in time. Let's move on to John Lemcooler, and then we'll come back again. John, why don't you say something there, and we'll see which phone you're on there.
Okay. Don't know which one you got me on here, Bob, but...
User number 10.
User number 10? Okay. Great. Okay. So we're going to put everybody else on mute, and then we'll put, so we'll mute all, and then we're going to unmute user 10. John, are you unmuted there?
I'm still on.
Okay, good. So we're ready to go with your presentation there. So we'll just put this on, and we'll get to your presentation, which is
okay.
Next one up there. And fire away at this point in time.
Okay. I'll move through this so that I can stay on the allotted time. Bob was very kind to let me present today. Just wanted to tell everybody good morning. Typically in our organization, we start off meetings and presentations with a safety topic, so I'll give a real quick, brief one. Found out today that blood use and blood donations are usually at lows in the summertime, with demand being very high. So a quick safety topic is, if you do donate, go ahead and get in and do that, or if you have not, look into it, because it's a very good thing to do. So I'll just start off that way, and then we'll jump right into it. Basically, my presentation today has three major parts to it. One is just a very quick overview of our corporation, Chemtura, and the business group I'm with, which is Great Lakes Solutions. Chemtura was a merger between Crompton and Great Lakes Chemical back in 2005. So part of it will be a little bit about us, part of it will be about our products and some of the things that impact them, and then the big part of it will be, of course, how this impacts Mercury Control and what you're trying to do with Mercury Control. Basically, Chemtura is a corporation of about 4,300 employees worldwide. We manufacture in 31 countries and sell products in in over 100 countries. Our global headquarters is based out of Philadelphia, and our major markets basically are in the energy and electronics area, transportation, and agriculture. So you move to the next page, Bob. The Great Lakes Solutions, which is the heritage historical Great Lakes chemical part of the business, is basically one of 7 business segments within Chemtura and within the Industrial Engineered Products Group. And essentially our value and our position with Mercury Control is as one of the 3 largest developers and manufacturers of bromine and bromine or bromide-based products that make the technologies for Mercury Control effective and efficient for use and very cost-effective. So that's essentially the part of our business then that I'm associated with, and that's focused very strongly on the Mercury Control piece. The next, Bob. Okay, Great Lakes Solutions is a bromine leader, essentially is working to develop and support growth in energy and electronics sectors. We have a lot of key end-use markets with basically 2 major product groups with our bromine derivatives and flame retardants products. But as you can see there, clean energy is a major driver for growth with Mercury Control and the regulations that are coming down. And it also ties in well with our greener innovation strategic programs that we're doing to develop cleaner more green chemistries for lots of different areas, including fire retardants in the Mercury Control area. Next slide, Bob. We are a global corporation. We have sales offices and production. I think the big focus right now, Bob, you can correct me, but essentially I think probably more focus on the U.S. right now with the regulations that have been published and are in place. But obviously, as this demand grows throughout the world, we are a global corporation that will be able to support that globally. But primarily in the U.S., our production and our source of material would be from our El Dorado, Arkansas, South Arkansas facilities, and we would have the ability essentially to support Mercury Control technologies anywhere in the United States very effectively from that position. Next slide, please. Access to bromine. Bromine is essentially the key element for all the products and all the materials used for Mercury Control technologies. Basically, as Chemtura and as our Great Lakes Solutions business is, we have access, of course, to our El Dorado facilities. We have access to bromine from the Dead Sea, and we've been working here recently to expand our global supply to a potential joint venture in India as well. And what that will essentially help us do is, as we see growth globally, it will allow us to focus our U.S. facilities on those key demand growth areas that I had in the previous slide, of which the Mercury Control and the technologies for Mercury Control are a big portion of. So overall, I think when you look at the product base for the technologies and the key raw material bromine for supporting that, we're in a very good position, I think, to supply those end-use applications. The next slide, please. Okay, this is just a very general looking at the whole availability and supply-demand kind of balance. It's looking at the capacity that's being announced here recently. So obviously there are things that can be done in the future as well. But the major drivers there essentially are that the bromine being produced in China is depleting, so that has a stronger demand on the other bromine demands, other supply that's out there globally. Flame retardant demand is picking up. We had the issue with the Gulf of Mexico that is now, we're seeing recovery in the Gulf of Mexico, and then of course Mercury Control growth. So essentially the big takeaway here is that the industry is doing the things we need to have available bromine and products for the Mercury Control. Availability is going to be, in very close supply and demand balance, but essentially we're going to be keeping up with demand, and we're going to be making investments. So I think from a sustainability standpoint, those products are going to be out there and they're going to be available, and we will be able to to support the technologies as people are implementing them to meet the new HAPS, the new MACT rule that will start kicking in 2015. Next. Mercury Control. I think everybody's probably seen this. What I'm kind of transitioning to here now is more from the Chemtura perspective and the bromine perspective into the mercury and the technologies. Essentially, globally, we have the United States regulations. We have the UNEP rules that are coming into place that are being developed. We just recently finished up the UNEP meetings last month, I guess toward the end of June. And Great Lakes Solutions, essentially, we're the only bromine producer right now listed on the website for the UNEP Global Mercury Partnership Group. So from a global perspective, we're taking an active role in trying to contribute to the regulations and the groups and the view of what's being done with mercury and to reduce its environmental impact. The next slide, please. Okay, GeoBrom. GeoBrom is our trademark product line for the Mercury Control technologies, and essentially, as people are working with these technologies to meet the federal clean air regulations, we've been doing the things we need to invest in our facilities. We have spent over $100 million on our American infrastructure to support this technology, and we have additional $170 million planned for 2013 to 2015. So essentially, with the people we have, with the organization we have, and with the commitment to investment, we're moving forward to support the Mercury Control technologies as we go forward. Next. This would be the product line that you would be seeing from GeoBrom, and many of you may or may not be aware of a lot of the technologies. I do have a slide coming up here that will give kind of an overview of a lot of them, but basically our product portfolio is the calcium bromide and sodium bromide products, both in solution and dry product form, as well as hydrobromic acid. You may be aware of the Shaw technology that's out there that utilizes hydrobromic acid. And essentially, we do have the flexibility, of course, within physical limitations of precipitation and solubility, but essentially we can do other concentrations of sodium bromide and other inorganic bromides. So this is a general product list of, as you're going down the line looking at things for your Mercury Control technology needs, these are the products we could provide to help assist with those. The next one, please, Bob. Essentially, our products have efficacy in all the technologies at different stages throughout the, from the addition to coal. There are different technologies, different IP, different patents out there for certain technologies. Basically, our products would help support those technologies. They've been demonstrated to be effective in the boiler. They've been tested on the activated carbon products and other downstream addition technologies that have been tested as the technologies have grown and developed over the last few years. So essentially, the product list that I just had up there, all of those products have not just been thought about, but have actually been trialed and put in commercial scale. Next. Okay. Why would GeoBrom, or why is bromide technology a good option? I think overall, we have a full range of the brominated products, but essentially it gives you flexibility to increase the amount of mercury oxidation you have in your system, which will give you better capture. Obviously, with elemental mercury, the capture of that mercury is very difficult. So by having oxidized or a high percentage of the mercury oxidized, it will help improve the air pollution control devices that you have in your facilities. It's been utilized in many facilities now over a long period of time and has not shown any increased boiler corrosion. I know there are some projects and tests further looking at the impacts of bromide, but essentially it could be used alone with scrubbers, it could be used with sorbents, and essentially bromide technologies that are out there, there's a lot of flexibility based on your particular facility, what you're trying to do. It's an economical solution. It does help improve the cost factors versus, say, an unbrominated activated carbon or not using bromine with activated carbon. The bromide itself does not negatively influence, fly ash or have any impact there. And essentially, as I've shown, there's a sustainable, secure supply that will be there for these technologies moving forward. So essentially, the bromide salts and these bromide products are a very effective mode of introducing bromine to activated carbon products and the systems as a whole. So basically, geobrom is a good option because it's versatile, it's effective, it helps improve the cost position of what you're trying to do with capturing mercury, and essentially it does that with limited impacts to how you're operating your facilities. Next, please. Now this is the table that I wanted to pull up, and obviously if anyone has questions, we can answer questions here, or my contact information is here. We'd be more than happy to discuss any questions you might have. But primarily on this table, what I've done is highlighted the technologies that are out there that utilize bromide products for those technologies. You have brominated activated carbons. There are essentially right now 3 patents out there for use for calcium bromide. All of those are very effective. You have the Shaw technology for 48% HBr, and there are some other non-carbon-based brominated sorbents that are also being developed. So overall, when you look at the effectiveness and the ability to hit certain mercury control targets, you can see where all of those within that range have a very effective rate of controlling mercury, controlling the emissions. And essentially, our product line has basically been demonstrated in all 3 of the calcium bromide technologies, and has been approved for use for activated carbon production as well. So basically, I think the long and short of it is there are options. I think everybody realizes that there is a diverse group of, the power plants. There's not a one-size-fits-all, but there are lots of options, and the bromide piece of it definitely helps provide that kind of flexibility. Next slide, please. We essentially, this is basically a summary of a lot of what I've gone through. Basically, we are a domestic supplier. We have the strongest U.S. bromine position and secure established operations, so we're supporting U.S. jobs as well as the technology. We've made the investments in our plants here in the U.S. as well. We've done the things within our organization to provide supply security and sustainability to the end users of the technologies and these products, including our inventories, what we're doing with our logistics, the fact that we do have 3 individual U.S. bromine plants and 2 additional bromine sources globally. And then we do have multiple supply sources for calcium bromide as well in the United States. So essentially, we're taking a lot of that supply security position upon ourselves to make sure we can provide that for our customers. We've been dealing with these products for many, many years. So basically, we can support equipment training, site visits if we need to evaluate the handling systems. And then the other piece of it that we bring to the table that we've been very focused on, working with the power companies and the customers we have, is around flexibility and customization, not just of the technology and the product, but how we do business with people, as far as what needs to be done with orders, with deliveries, with logistics and flexibility, doing what needs to be done to provide supply security and inventory, basically site-specific storage if that's necessary, and essentially the product range. So essentially, we made the commitment to this industry, we made the commitment to this technology, and essentially, based on the fact that there is a wide range of flexible technologies to use for mercury control, bromide is a big piece of that, and we're essentially there to support that. Next slide, please. Okay. I mean, basically, this is our value statement of why geobrom is a good thing for these mercury control technologies. It's effective. We have reliable U.S. supply. It's a very cost-effective solution. We provide the flexibility to do what people are doing within their individual facilities, and our support and creativity for the order and delivery process, I think, has helped us with a lot of the customers we currently have. So that's obviously something we're continuing to do and develop as we move forward. The last slide there, Bob, is just my contact information. If anybody has questions or would like to sit down and talk a little bit longer about our experiences or what we've done, supporting the technology and the Mercury Control projects that are out there, we'd be more than happy to sit down and spend that time. So if there are questions, I'd be happy to take them at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to open it up from questions from the floor, but because of some of the background noise we're getting, I think maybe I'll ask a question or two first.
Okay.
You showed a slide with multiple uses of bromine as it moves through the boiler and then through the equipment, through the scrubber, et cetera.
Yep.
And I think Shaw has made presentations showing overall removals in the very high 90%. With multiple uses of bromine. So just to get your concurrence that even though some of those, individual percentages you showed were, 90% or less, that the combination thereof could give you a higher than 90% removal. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the other point to make there, Bob, that was essentially a general summary. So, obviously, in situations where you have high SO3, you have, the impact to carbons and just the chemistry that goes on there. I think what that was a survey, basically. So I think for the most part, that you may have 10 or 12 tests or demonstrations that those technologies have been at the higher side, and we just wanted to include the whole range of what we've seen as what has been out there.
But you emphasize flexibility, and I would think one thing on flexibility, you can be adding bromine at one point, assuming you're going to get certain removals, and then, or you can be adding it at multiple points and decide you don't need it at multiple points and things too, right? So
correct. Yes.
It does give you.
Yes, it does give you the flexibility. It gives you the ability if you have a lot of unburned carbon in your fly ash. It allows you to make use of that as a capture device, and it gives you the opportunity to inject it at different areas. And again, these are all technologies that anybody who's employing them needs to make sure they're following the right license agreements, or if they're using someone's technology. But from our perspective, there's a lot of flexibility there to be able to do lots of different things within their systems.
One last point here is the critical nature of the supply. You mentioned, China's bromine supply is dwindling. At the same time, I think they're looking at scrubbers and oxidation of the mercury is the primary way to remove mercury. All their research efforts are going into that, and they haven't yet adopted any regulations, but they have, close to 800,000 megawatts of coal-fired power plants and 400,000 or 500,000 megawatts, which is about 2 to 3 times what we've got, actually, in terms of scrubbers, are all in place. So in terms of additional potential bromine consumption, it would look like there's a fairly substantial demand worldwide. And what you're saying is that you'll be able to meet the demand worldwide with your international reach. Is that correct?
Yeah, based on the timing and what we see of the regulations, we're comfortable with what we're doing now is essentially being done to support that in the future. And you're entirely correct. I mean, there are
for Brian, please.
There are.
Brian, my name is Pete Lean. I'm calling from Rapid City, South Dakota.
Pete, we need to get you on there.
He's my chief operating officer.
Yeah,
and
we're trying to get
he could deal with Slowski's.
Let's see.
But I kind of dealt with.
You have to go back and forth with. I'm just going to put Pete on mute here. Sorry, guys. And so we're back to questions from the floor at this point in time. Who would like to ask a question or make a comment at this point in time? I believe we do have somebody from Albemarle on the line. Would they like to comment on the worldwide supply or supply here in the U.S.?
One question is, how is the material conveyed and weighed before it goes to the end process?
Good question.
Yeah, our product essentially, I mean, there are liquid products, so you would essentially be moving that with pumps and hoses very easily. Did I understand the question correctly? How is it being conveyed?
Yes.
Yeah, essentially you can use these as aqueous liquid products that are transported in rail car, tank truck, and then essentially you could go straight from a tank truck or even a small IBC with a pump and a hose to your unit. Very easy, very clean transfer.
You mentioned liquid. Put on the slides so you also have value. You store it at the plant, or
yeah, we're getting some, unfortunately, we're not able to hear that comment. Probably going to have to move on and at this point in time then.